Recording, please. Thank you. Good evening. This is Arthur Gasparo, Chair of the Nantucket Airport Commission. Welcome to the October 10th, 2023 meeting of the Airport Commission. The meeting is being conducted remotely pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023. The meeting is being, the Airport Commission is convening by video conference via the Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that the meeting is being recorded. All attendees are participating by video conference. Please be careful not to screen share your computer. It may be broadcast by the recording. All supporting materials are available on the town website unless otherwise noted. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking and speak clearly in a way that helps to generate accurate meeting minutes. I will recognize anybody for items with public comment. And finally, each vote in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. And with that, we will turn to the first item on the agenda, which is to review and approve the agenda. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns with the agenda as published? Hearing none, we will accept that. And we have the draft minutes of September 14th and September 19th. Are there any questions or comments on the draft minutes? Welcome, Ms. Topham. We're just doing the minutes.
I'm sorry.
No worries. I wasn't going to get too far ahead, but just thought I'd get
I was on last month's. I guess it joined was what I put on. Anyhow.
Thank you. No problem. So we've got the minutes for the 14th and the 19th of September. Any questions or comments?
No, thank you.
Or a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Planzer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Topham?
Aye.
Mr. Marks? You with us, Mr. Marks? Good, thanks. And chair votes aye. Need a motion to ratify the warrant for September 27th. Any questions or a motion to ratify?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Topham, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Planzer?
Aye.
Mr. Marks? The chair votes aye. Is there any public comment for items that are not otherwise on the agenda? Not seeing any members of the public. And we will move on to pending leases and contracts. Just real quick, have we had any indication from Mr. Buscarin? Is he having trouble connecting, or? Well, let's get through the contracts then, I guess. Mr. Carberg, if you would please, and if we could share the screen while the exhibit 1, please, while we do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good afternoon. With your permission, I was going to take these slightly out of order. I'd like to just pull out the Robert B. Hour contract for separate consideration, just given its scope and dollar amount. I have Mr. Laston here to present it. So starting with the Allegiant Access Technologies, this contract is for $86,212.50. It's the 3-year automatic door repair and maintenance contract. It's just 3 years worth of services. We encumber these forward facing, however. Next, I have $35,000 with the Dauber companies. This is to install isolation valves on chiller 3 and chiller 4 for the geothermal system. One of the problems that we have is on installation, these were not provided with any isolation valves. So on one section or one elbow of the pipe containing antifreeze starts to leak, we need to take the entire system offline and drain. I think it's like 7 or 8 55-gallon drums of coolant, and then put that back into the system. So this will enable us to isolate the system more effectively for doing work that's needed now and work in the future. Robert Biar had previously mentioned. I also have $119,267 for a contract with Industrial Protection Services. This is for the new ARP equipment. This will be a 13% local share as we specify the product name for some brand tools, SCBA, and radios compatible with our existing equipment. Then we have $936,210 for procurement of an ARC vehicle. This had been awarded to Oshkosh. The share of this, although it lists 83% FAA, 4% state, and 13% airport, the ARC vehicle itself is actually a 90%, 5%, and 5% share. So it's a traditional AIP split. So I believe we will I bring those four to you for your consideration, and then I'll have Rich present the RVO contract.
Okay, are there any questions, comments on the,
No.
yes. Contracts? Is there a motion to approve the contracts that were just reviewed by Manager Carberg, with notable exception of the Robbie Biao contract?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second,
Thanks. Ms. Blazer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Topham?
aye.
Mr. Marks? And the chair votes aye. And that'll take us on to the contract with Robbie Biao for the South Apron.
Okay, Mr. Laston, would you mind giving us maybe a 3 to 5 minute discussion of this contract?
I will. I'm scrolling through the grant app. I'm trying to find the breakdown of how we came up with the funding, and I'm going to share that in a second. So good evening, Mr. Chair. So the contract, I believe, as everybody here on the meeting understands, is for the South Apron reconstruction. When we put that project together, there was many discussions back and forth about adding in some community initiatives, possibly adding in some in-berm storage facilities, some other things we added. We added some catch basin and manhole replacements on the existing apron, which as a previous POTUS visit found out that were not aviation rated for the types of planes that POTUS brings in. There was some cameras and lights on the existing ramp that we potentially looked at. And then we looked at multiple variations of the South Apron expansion. We finally, as you, I should say, finally came up with the alignment of the South Apron and what to include that were, as we called, the community initiatives, some of which were noise monitoring, some of which were security cameras. There was some emission testing and equipment. There was the in-berm storage was ultimately pulled out. It was a little confusing with the state's bid laws. And then there were other things added into the project. So the project ultimately came out to about a $39 million project. And the FAA came up with multiple funding sources. One was a standard AIP grant. The FAA was very, very generous and came up with a $30 million grant from the AIP program, and then approximately another $3 million through the Bill Grant program. So the federal government is ending up paying approximately $33 million of this project. The state agreed to pay their matching share for the entire thing, which was wonderful. And then, as I said, there was a series of community initiatives that were not FAA fundable. So those made the local share different from the traditional 5% share to something higher than that. So where the state share is about, I don't know, $1.5 million, I think, the town share is about $6 million because of some of these non-traditional community initiatives on the project. So all that being said, we did actually get our grants last month, I guess it was, and they have been processed for the project. And now we've engaged with RBO, Robert B. Hours, the contractor, and we've given them a notice of award, which was the first step in the process. So what that did was it allowed them to go out and acquire their bonds and their insurance. And they have started to give us some shop drawings. We actually have a meeting with them tomorrow at the airport to talk about some early procurement of products and some potential lay down spaces. A project like this, they're going to have to barge almost all of their material from the mainland. So all winter long, potentially, they'll be barging material, be it base products to make pavement, or gravel of the various types, or various types of stones. So they'll be barging that over and putting it to work. Based on the contract, they have 150 days of actual construction. This time that they're doing now is not construction, it's mobilization. So they will not get charged for their time, but consequently, they can't do any contract work. So they can procure equipment and they could mobilize onto the site, but they can't actually do any physical construction. But this contract being signed or approved tonight for signature will allow them to essentially start spending money to buy their materials and start moving it onto the island. So if the commission likes, I can sort of go further into what the project is, or we can open it up to some questions. If you've had any concerns from the community, more than happy to talk about whatever they might be, or get into some more schedule. We will get from the contractor his schedule. One of the things they'll do now is they'll develop their baseline construction schedule, along with some other paperwork initiatives that they have to provide. And we can certainly talk further once we get that schedule on what that looks like. If any big picture concerns come out to be, we did structure this in discussions with the airport about making most of the project what's called a landside project, so that we'll put a temporary airport fence up and we'll fence them off so they're on the public side and they don't need to come in and out of the airport, which from a safety point of view is a big savings and a big positive for the airport and the FAA. There will be, once it becomes a landside project, there will be no opportunity for them to go where they can't be.
Yeah,
So I will turn it over to the commission through you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Rich.
Commissioners, any questions?
I know, remember way back when they were talking to citizens that are in Surfside and stuff about the berm. Now,
Yep.
is that going to involve with that? To
So
deaden this noise?
can I answer that, Mr. Chair?
Yeah, oh, yes, please.
Okay, so Noah and I did have a meeting with the Surfside. It's not an official homeowners association, but we did have a meeting with them last month, I guess it was, to discuss the berm.
Okay.
And they did ask some questions about how is the berm made? Where is it going to be? They asked interesting questions like, are you going to build more berm in the future? Which the airport couldn't handle or couldn't answer at this point. We did explain to them that the berm is serving two functions. One is it is creating a noise barrier to the communities that are along Monahans Road. And the second thing we did explain to them was that it is a home for PFAS contaminated soil, that there is no place to put it. So we did talk to them at length about how that berm was both lined on the bottom and covered on the top. It has been designed through Weston Solutions, who is your LSP.
Mhm.
So we worked with them to design that berm to encapsulate this soil. And there was some discussions back and forth on on which dirt goes in the berm, and both the federal government and the state are looking at potentially in the future lowering the contamination standards of the dirt. So it was decided just to put all of the dirt that we can associated with this project into the berm.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Or I think we've been working at this for a number of years. And is there a motion to approve the contract with Robert Biauer?
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Ms. Topham, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Planzer,
Aye.
Mr. Marks,
Aye.
chair votes aye. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lasden.
It's a wonderful development for the airport.
Good.
Oh, yeah, I will. Thank you. Moving on to annual town meeting and special town meeting articles review. Mr. Carberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to try to cover two birds with one stone here. I'm going to refer to both STM and ATM projects, especially how they are related, hopefully in a manner that keeps it clear. So I presented the airport's ATM 2025 capital request to the Capital Committee on September 28th, and our ATM requests for the supplemental town meeting coming up in November of 2023 at the following Finance Committee meeting on the 29th. I received a range of feedback from FinCom and Capcom members, some of which I think I've recognized and taken to heart, and some of which we'll have an opportunity to correct in subsequent meetings. But as a result of these two meetings and some one-to-one communications with commissioners, I felt that I should take the following actions related to both the special town meeting and the annual town meeting warrants. And that's the basis of what I'm here to discuss. So relevant to the special town meeting coming up on November 7th, we have two articles. The first, I think, is quick and simple. Article 5 is a zoning change. I'll be recusing from it due to a potential perception of conflict of interest, but Preston Harriman will be present to answer any questions from the floor on that. We also had Article 13, which is our supplemental request for Phase 1 employee housing, aka the dorm. We had previously received a borrowing authorization of just under 3.9 million for construction, but due to receipt of municipal bids higher than of modular bids higher than expected, and our additional requirements to install a lengthy sewer connection, we pushed the bid dates back, and we hoped we'd receive better bids, which we didn't. We delayed our bid opening twice for the modular construction due to lack of interest. We ended up only receiving a single bid. Even though we were providing a well-reasoned estimate for a supplemental article for special town meeting for an additional 2.115 million, we do recognize this is an estimate only, and we would like to be informed by a bid. My suggestion is we recognize the criticism we received from FinCom and Capcom, and we withdraw our special town meeting request for 2.115 million. And instead we re-engineer our existing upcoming annual town meeting request for Phase 2 construction. We do need to take that delay anyway to accommodate the non-advantageous bid that we received for modular construction. So I think it is a win-win. We don't really lose by pushing out that request to annual town meeting. For that annual town meeting warrant, we will have multiple articles. We have our regular tranche of spending and capital articles. I'm not going over all of them here, but specifically to that annual town meeting employee housing article, I'm going to ask for two things as part of that article. I am going to adjust our current phase 2 housing appropriation to remove construction funds for phase 2, which is the townhouse, and instead request only the supplemental funds for phase 1 and design only funds for phase 2. I'm looking for the commission's consent on that approach. I can ask for something different, but I think this is the best way to respond to feedback and ensure the delivery of our phase 1 structure and to move on to design for phase 2. Our next significant committee meeting, and that committee meeting cycle will be with the FinCom on November 2nd. So I know those are some moving parts and pieces. Are there any questions from the commission? And hopefully I can take this as a general consent to move forward.
Any questions or concerns with that approach?
No.
I think it makes good sense. So yes, please take that as consensus and keep us posted.
Okay.
We'll move
Thank you.
on. Pending matters, please.
For PFAS, we have an update table in your packet. 550 samples have been taken from 80 private wells. Fall sampling has been completed. And I'll have an update for you. We'll schedule either a December or January interim data meeting with the consultant, depending on receipt of our sample results. I presented in our capital committee meeting a $4 million appropriation request. I was somewhat surprised by the nature of the questions and requests that are received from committee membership. I was asked if we could break up the borrowing request into multiple years, or if we could simply just prepay for that work out of airport funds. I understand and respect the point of view that membership was coming from, but I will be providing a written point-by-point response. My basis of my opinion, which is pretty clear, is that the airport is dealing with a complicated and time-sensitive regulatory investigation. There's severe financial and human health penalties for noncompliance and delay, and it really does require the $4 million upfront amount as we had requested. I think it was well informed. I'll continue to make that ask and make those points clear. For the crew quarters project, as I mentioned earlier, after delaying our bid opening for the modular structure, we received only one bid. While I appreciate that we did receive a single bid, we reviewed it and we determined it was not advantageous for the airport. So we will be repackaging the project to include the general contractor to perform all of the site work and oversee the modular as one bid unit in several weeks' time. For the South Apron expansion project, thank you for your approval of the contract. I know I'd worked on this for 10 years. Previous airport management has worked on this as well. We'll be working with our consultant to establish work hours, look into things like fence screening, and develop a project schedule with the contractor. This will be a little bit different of a project in that it will take place in 150 calendar days. Landside project, it will probably garner a little bit more interest, so we'll plan on handling that interest proactively and accordingly. Any questions before moving on to finance?
Anyone? Not seeing any. Thank you.
So we have begun work on the fiscal year 25 operating budget, and we're due to present a preliminary draft to town administration in early November. That meeting with town administration is scheduled to occur prior to our next commission meeting. So I always like to bring it up when we're meeting with another group before the commission has necessarily seen the same documents. I'll release it as an FYI draft to the commission when it's ready in advance of our meeting. But this is just how the schedule is working out this fall. I'll keep this on as an agenda item until we move through a final budget, which is approved by the commission. At this point, we do not have a draft document ready for this packet as the budget is in its very early stages. However, as really high level view, we're looking at approximately 12.8 million in revenue, 13.2 million in expenses, with that gap offset by our typical $400,000 transfer from our PFC fund. We're also exploring one or two new positions on the staff level, but we don't have any final recommendations to present to you yet. So more will come on the budget.
Thank you.
Moving into the manager's report for AIP projects, Taxiway Golf project has restarted. I'm happy to report we're safely accommodating the alternate tug operation with JetBlue across the ramp. We have daily runway 1533 closures to accommodate the work. Erosion control has been installed, site survey complete, and reclamation of existing pavement and duct bank installation is complete. Excavation is underway. We had a final coordination meeting with the FAA to discuss details of splicing and reconnecting a buried copper cable and fiber optic cable that support the RVR and the ASR9 respectively. And then as part of this work, we will be utilizing the contractor's markings subcontractor to address our open FAA inspection letter of correction item, with that work scheduled to begin on October 30th. For the master plan, we're working to update the master plan website. Staff and stakeholders are reviewing the inventory and facility requirement chapters. Staff and the consultant are developing a frequently asked questions list and response, and our next action will be to schedule stakeholder meeting number 2. Similarly, for the geometry project, we're scheduling the final stakeholder workshop. I don't have an additional update on the Southwest ramp or terminal optimization. We discussed the ARF truck. We have a capital improvement plan meeting scheduled with FAA and Mass DOT for the end of October. There's no change to our CIP list that I presented previously, but I'll circulate any revised drafts to the commission via the packet. The non-AIP projects, I'm in the process of closing out the right-of-way research task order and delivering final items. That will take a couple of months. No update on the fence relocation at this time to accommodate some bunker area tenants and improve the layout in that area. For our RFP and bid status, we had a Mass DOT and FAA scoping meeting on the terminal optimization project. I think they are in agreement with the general draft scope, which is important for these items being eligible in the future for bill or state funding. So our next step is to receive a fee proposal from the consultant. For 77 and 79 Bunker Road lots, these are the parcels behind the existing Island Barge and Toscana parcels. We received one proposal. We received 2 proposals, one for each lot. We're reviewing internally and we'll meet next week to recommend action on those. We received one RFP response for the impound lot and surface storage facility. The evaluation was completed and the proposal was sent to legal for review. We might have a couple follow-up questions, but we think we have a good proposal at above asking price for operation of that use. And then I discussed the RFP for the modular building contract previously. For an operations update, I discussed the CIP and the FAA follow-up. For fuel supply, we reviewed and submitted our 2024 calendar year fuel reservations through World Fuel Services to the steamship. We are asking for more reservations in the peak summer months. This isn't just for Jet A supply, but also we do purchase 100 low lead and we do like to play the market so we can buy in lower pricing periods and pass that savings on to our customers. So we're asking for additional reservations in those peak summer months. We will sit down with them and discuss. I believe we have a meeting scheduled for November. But generally for fall operations, and you'll see this in the statistics, the September weather, especially over the weekends, was not optimal. And we've seen that in general aviation activity. And for the junk pile update, I wanted to thank Commissioner Marks for his suggestion of working with an existing tenant to remove that junk, especially the scrap metal and some of the equipment. I think we found a win-win situation and we won't have to discount future rent for that future tenant to move that material.
Good.
An update on noise policy comments. We submitted our letter that we reviewed last month. A number of other airports took the same opportunity. Many echoed our own positions on seasonality, LEQs, and eligibility of alternate metrics. AAAE also submitted what I thought was a strong letter in support of some of our seasonal points. So I wanted to thank AAAE for their involvement. They, of course, had to respond on the basis of all airports of all sizes interest. So it was great to see that seasonal portion included. We have our upcoming TAC meeting, which is the annual meeting we have with the State Natural Heritage section of the Division of Fish and Wildlife on our habitat management and stewardship on the airfield. We'll have that meeting in late fall. The Massachusetts Association of Airport Managers Conference is coming up in 2 or 3 weeks. We are sending Cameron, our new environmental coordinator. I think she's a good representative. There are a lot of environmental items on that agenda. It's also a conference that's commonly attended by airport commissioners. I think I did send something around a few weeks ago, but if there's interest from an airport commissioner, that's an item the airport has covered in the past. It's a quick, easy trip to Plymouth. If anyone wants to take a 1 or 2 day trip, please let me know and I'd be happy to discuss with you. We attended with the Nantucket Fire Department and an ARC vehicle, the Wildland Firefighter Touch-a-Truck event, which I understand was well attended. We are also participating in the Nantucket Boys and Girls Club Youth STEAM event on October 17th. We are doing the Paper Airplane Challenge, phonetic alphabet presentation, and also bringing an ARC vehicle. So we're excited to do that. I also wanted to update the commission on the Turo and the medallion issue that has been raised by the town. So I attended and spoke at the September 26th select board meeting regarding Turo and the town medallion bylaw. I do think this is a much broader issue than just an airport one. So I was grateful that the select board allowed me to speak and present our items. Towns in general are struggling with how to address this. This isn't just even a Nantucket issue. An app-based rental platform like Turo is disruptive in the same way Uber was or Airbnb was initially, and we're still trying to grapple with that as a town. But anyway, the basis of my ask was that the town does have a bylaw for rental cars and issuance of rental car medallions, and they cap rental car medallions at, I believe it is 700 medallions.
Mm-hmm.
We are in a position where if we were to want to deal with an entity like a Turo, and I'll use that generally, there are other app-based car rental companies out there. But to work with a group like Turo, we would want to do so if they're in violation of a town bylaw, especially one that is really important to a lot of people. I wouldn't want the airport to be in a position of setting a precedent for the island one way or the other. So I spoke to the select board about that. It's really still a developing issue. I'll look forward to reporting back on it to the commission as we go forward. Any questions before I move into statistics?
Commissioners, anything?
No.
I also attended that same meeting, spoke at the select board, and I do think there's more to come there.
Okay, so statistics. For August, total operations are down 7%, and year-to-date down 9.7%. It's a continuation of a trend we've seen for the last year and much longer. Southwest ramp operations for August were down 4%. Enplanements were up 3% in August and are up 3% year-to-date. Again, the shift to positive enplanement growth at this reporting time for August is driven by the summer air carrier traffic exceeding losses from the year-round commuter market. I think that's something we've discussed, numerous times here. We're now at a point where we're ahead of the game. as we get into the fall months, I expect that. Well, that's anyone's guess. We should end up more or less flat. Boston market for August was up 8%. It was driven by Cape Air being down 6%, but JetBlue up 32%. Charlotte in August, American was up 8%. For DCA, August, that market was up 9%. JetBlue was up 7%, and American was up 11%. Cape Air was down 40% for New Bedford in August. United was up 12% for Newark in August. JetBlue was up 44% for White Plains in August. Cape Air, Hyannis traffic was down 47%. I'll just point out that's missing a negative sign for the employment change. JFK for August was down 16%. It was driven by Delta, down 34%, JetBlue down 2%. LaGuardia, however, for August was up 18%, Delta being up 9%, JetBlue being up 28%. I can't necessarily tell you if that's a difference in connecting traffic through LaGuardia or a higher percentage of origin and destination traffic. Philadelphia was up 13%. That's American. O'Hare was down 43%. It's also American. And Jet A gallons sold were up less than 1% in August and down 15% in September. And again, I think that's due to bad weather. Year to date, we are down 4% in Jet A sales. 100 low lead was down 13% in August, 12% in September, and is also down 4% year to date. Freight was down 8% in August and down 2% year to date. Again, UPS and the US Mail were up significantly. Cape Air Freight and FedEx were down. Then we had 27 noise calls in August, which is typical. And I do not have any items for you for the personnel report at this time. That concludes my manager's report.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions? Mr. Carver, comments on the manager's report? We have the meeting calendar. Any questions or comments on the calendar that was in our packet? Okay, we'll proceed with that. Public comment for items not on the agenda. Not seeing any members of the public. I'm sorry, under commissioners' comments, we have the calendar, but I'd also like to open it up for any other comments for future agenda items of general concern without getting into specific discussion. Okay, not seeing any, thank you. I would entertain a motion to go into executive session per General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, to review the executive session minutes enumerated on the agenda, and to discuss pending litigation regarding Walsh. That discussion in open session may have a negative impact on the position of the Airport Commission, not to return to open session. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. How do you vote, Ms. Topham?
Aye.
Ms. Planzer?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Buscarin?
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Thank you all.